You're back on the set with Hollywood's bad guy, Jasper Cole. Here's Jasper Cole.
Woohoo! All right. Howdy, 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 and welcome back to On the Set with Jasper Cole. We are in our final stretch here, but I'd like to say we saved the best for last. No offense to any other guests, but they've left. They don't know what we're saying.
Howard's watching.
Howard knows we're kidding.
Howard, yeah.
Welcome back. We haven't been here in 7 weeks, so this is our July show, and it's been our highbrow author, writer, very distinguished show. We've tried to be on our best behavior, but I didn't start off.
We tried to be on our best behavior.
It didn't really work out so well.
You need to repent.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
Wow.
And that's
Yours cold.
Oh, look, nipples. And speaking of nipples, welcome back, Dara.
Hi.
Thanks for staying with us.
You're welcome.
And who's that thing next to you? Say
that
hi.
beautiful creature is
Yes.
Ralph Cole
Hello,
Jr.
Planet
My
Earth.
way too
Welcome
gay
back. I am
sidekick.
way too gay, and I love that.
Yeah.
You can never get too much
Very
gay.
subtle.
You can never get too gay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
Never too thin or too gay.
Or too
Work it
black.
Or too rich.
Or too
Too
black.
rich.
But you don't know you're black,
Yeah, right,
so it's all good to
exactly.
go, right?
Are you black? Poor Raoul. Let's
poor-
introduce Raoul.
Ralph
will.
Ralph gets to always introduce the guest to his right.
Our very esteemed second author for today is none other than Raoul Peter Mongilardi.
Yay! Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What a
Thank you.
great name. We love your name. We were just talking about it before we went on the air here.
Sure.
And you had a funny story about when you were giving the name, you said your dad said something to your mom.
Oh yeah, my dad when he saw the name that my mom wanted, because it was really her idea.
It's a mouthful.
He said, "Yeah, you're really going to give it to him now, aren't you?"
Where are you from? What part?
I was born in Carmel.
Oh wow!
how lovely.
Oh God,
It was
that's such a
terrible.
you poor thing.
The ghetto.
Government cheese and everything.
Yeah, I
That's-
felt
that's
like a real, problem from California. It was bad. I
it
had
was
to
bad.
say.
It's so beautiful there.
Yeah, and I was there till I was 8, and then my father was killed in Vietnam, so we
sorry.
moved back east, where my mother and he were originally from, and I grew up there and went to military school, which I was
Wow.
fortunate enough to get myself thrown out of.
Good for
Wow,
you.
how'd you
Thank
manage
God.
that?
Worked on it diligently.
Good for you.
Good.
Ooh.
Wow.
And then went to other schools and lived there, and then came out here about 20 years ago.
To L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had you worked in the industry back east? Or-
I'd been on, been an actor.
You were an actor, right?
Yeah, like a lot of other people.
And then you came to your senses.
And then I came to my senses and came here and been writing and producing.
Producing ever since.
Yeah.
No,
Now-
go ahead, Ralph.
Was it your mother that gave you the pronunciation of Raoul?
Well, people always did, sort of differently, and it's sort of the French, so it's just,
I see.
it's really just Raoul,
Mm.
and
Right.
yeah.
I see.
But
'Cause-
I always just say growl without the
Right.
Without the G, right.
Like if you wrote it phonetically, yeah, it would be
Yeah.
like growl. Yeah. Well, how long your company OMRPM Productions, was that something you've had for 20 years, or did you kind of it evolved into what it is now?
Well, it really evolved because I started out in film production and independent production with Disney Imagineering, and my first gig in town was with the Geffen Playhouse during
Oh.
its inaugural season. I was an
Great.
assistant stage manager.
Mm.
It was really exciting to
Right.
see it
Yeah.
get off
Is that
the
That
when
would
ground.
be.
was that when Gil Cates
It
was
was.
running it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do you happen to know Tom Schumacher at all at Disney?
yes, in
Animation.
Imagineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a friend of
Okay.
Raoul's.
Oh yeah, he was a
Mhm.
lovely guy.
Mhm.
And Connie Stamos.
I don't know Connie.
She's one of the people who's does all of the business management
I see.
there. And her husband Nick Stamos is an old friend of mine. Actually, did our budget for MIA, and I've worked with him many years.
wow.
He's a
Oh,
really
okay.
cool
It's a
guy.
small, everyone is Hollywood's really small. We say that all the time, but it really is.
Half a degree of separation.
So-
Right.
The MIA is the Air Commanding.
is the Burning Blue. It's a little bit confusing because Zach and I originally gave it the title. Zach named it The Burning Blue, which is a beautiful title. And then we got some notes back that said, it's
You got
kind
some
of
coverage from Howard.
a little bit,
No, but yeah.
little bit of coverage from a studio president, and he thought that, which I think is a really good note and an astute note, that it's a little bit of an art house kind of film title,
Mhm.
So he thought that we would hit really our demographic if we had MIA.
Mm-hmm.
I like
so we
that.
switch it to MIA. But at the same time, referring, I think, to what your question is, Air Wing Commander
Right.
is the real. So we have a name of that too, because two of my colleagues, our History Channel producers, did the series Dogfights.
Oh yeah.
Brooks Wachtel and Cynthia Harrison. And so they wanted to do a reel with me. And I said, why don't we kind of put it together right now and just let's get this done, and so we called it Air Wing Commander. The concept being, of course, that a documentary or History Channel show would really be about the military aspects of his career and not so much the drama. Yeah.
And are you the actor in Air Wing Commander?
No. I did the voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a great voice. Yeah.
Thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
But so, God, first of all, you've got so much going on. Like you have so many. Yeah. Where, in terms of websites, where do you want people to look you up or find you? I mean, what's the best? I mean, you may not, but if you know what I mean, are you on the social media and all that, or do you?
I'm on Facebook. I have my regular Facebook page under my name. I have OMRPM Productions on Facebook. We also have Next to the Gods on Facebook, which is our my science fiction project, and everything has now we've rebranded everything so that now I pulled all the websites together. I think, Dara, you commented earlier that there's a lot of websites on my business card. So what we did was we pulled them all in, so it's all under the banner.
That's because I have ADD.
So it's all under the banner of OMRPM Productions.com?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. So OM-RPM Productions.com.
And the M is your last name?
Yeah.
And who's the O?
Well, it's actually Ohm. I wanted to make the universal sound Ohm.
Oh, right.
Oh,
and
right.
I originally wanted to have the website be Ohm Productions.
Right.
Well, that was gone,
It's
in
gone.
a flash.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I thought, well, I don't want to get too far away from that, and why don't we keep it relevant to my name? Because that way, when we're branding things, at least it'll go
Good idea.
that way.
Right.
So we did OMRPM.
Right.
And when
you're one of the few people that has a 213 number.
I refuse to give it
I
up.
have a
You have a
213
I have
number.
a
Right
213
on.
also.
Right on, sister.
all three
right
of you.
on.
That's right. That's
When
right.
my parents started a cell service for all of us girls, I had a 213 because I lived in Hollywood
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
have
that was our
213.
Hollywood number for
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't given it up.
Right.
Yeah, that's
It's funny when I put it on school forms, they just sort of, and they always will try and call the rest of the number without the area code, thinking that I made a mistake. No.
Yeah, it must be.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is it's partly branding and I mean after this many years of having the number and having why change it?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and
It's
it's
kinda
cool
silly.
because some people will get in contact with me that I haven't, I've been in contact for a while, and it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Right on. Good for you.
Right on,
Thank you.
sister.
I
Well,
try.
we have to let everyone know when you mentioned Zach earlier, it's Zach Gruber, publicist extraordinaire, who also is a great writer, and so you guys
very
have
much
a
so.
project together.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, that's MIA.
That's right. You guys were mentioning it, but I wanted to bring that back.
Yeah, that's MIA, the Burning Blue. What happened was, as I mentioned, my dad was killed in
That's
Vietnam.
just dreadful.
I know.
It was
You were
really-
young.
It was,
Yeah.
I was
Young.
8.
The same age my husband lost his mother, not in Vietnam, but it's a tough age.
Yeah, it was.
You
It
know,
was. It
yeah.
was kind of like having a bomb go off in
Yeah.
your family, and so we didn't have his remains for 41 years. And so
Wow.
when Clinton opened the doors to Vietnam in '92, my dad's name was high on the list because of his rank and because of the fact that it had been, we had been pressuring for quite a while.
I was going to ask you,
get
is that
some
something
answers.
the family had been pursuing, I
Yeah.
guess, for years?
My mother was quite a powerhouse, and so she was all over it. But then it hurt so much, and then my sister and my brother and I took it over.
Right.
And then so his crash site was one of the first forensically released crash sites.
Wow.
Happened that at that time forensic identification was very good, and certainly better than it had been, but it wasn't 100%. So they had said, well, we can guarantee you it's your dad, and we'll give you, but we can really only officially make it a 20% match. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. I mean, it was a single-engine attack jet aircraft. Common sense, it had to be him. But on principle, in order to have a resolution and to have Arlington Cemetery ceremonies conducted properly, we wanted to have it full.
Sure.
So in 2007, they contacted us and said, we're doing a revolutionary new process, which is a mitochondrial DNA match. And if we do this, it will be a 100% match. So we did it, and it was. So 41 years later, we were able
Wow.
to give him his full military.
Now, was your
honors.
mom still here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She's
good.
still
yeah,
kicking and
good,
thrashing.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good.
But that's a real
Wow.
full circle moment for your family.
It was. It was.
Yeah, because the imagery that I saw of them finding the DNA match when they said it was a 100%, it looked like spirochetes going into something, and then it all
Right.
like congealed, and that's when it was determined that it was 100%.
Right. We timed it that way. You're talking about the sizzle reel.
Yes.
Yeah. We timed it so that it would look exactly like that in order to make the connection between what is being said and the visual acuity of what that really means in
Right.
terms of the
Wow.
science of what that represents.
Wow.
So,
and that the sizzle reel is on your website,
Yeah.
as well. Everyone, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure because it is riveting. It's really
Thank you.
well done.
thank you very
So
much.
you have that project, and then now you also have your book.
Next to the gods, can I
I'm
hold
letting
it up?
you.
Yeah.
I'm letting you be Carol Merrill. Oh, I just aged myself. No one even knows who that is. But
And didn't she do this a lot?
Yeah.
It was sort of like,
Yeah.
yeah, next to the gods.
Yeah.
Tell us about. This is book 3.
This is book 3. This is Great Is Our Number. There are 4 books in the series. The 4th one we're holding back on now because all three of them are out, and I want to build audience and make it and push it a little bit before we release book 4. Book 1 is When Gods Walk Among Us. Book 2 is The Fate of Worlds. Book 3 is Great Is Our Number, which is my favorite title.
Yeah.
And book 4 is The Secret Place of Thunder.
Wow.
They're all about 300 to 400 pages. So it's world-building, empire science fiction.
And were you a science fiction buff?
I love it.
Always. I mean,
I
All
grew
my
up.
boys love
Yeah.
science fiction.
I grew up with it. Watching George Powell movies, and my godmother was Betty Spiegel, the wife of the famous film producer Sam Spiegel.
Yes.
So I grew up in a film-related
Right.
world. I went to Radio City Music Hall all the time. Rah rah Radio City. I love that place.
Beautiful.
And was so glad to help save it. I was reading Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and
Ray Bradbury.
Ray Bradbury and Arthur Clarke
Wow.
and Frank Herbert,
Right.
and along with other literature and history. I'm a history buff too.
You
so-
are okay.
Yeah.
you happen to-
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Who's the demographic for your books?
It's really
What ages?
It's a broad demographic. I would say a good 14 or 13
Okay.
on the bright side all the way up. Yeah.
Oh, good.
It's not children's stories
Right.
in the sense that because it's world building, there's a lot of characterization and storyline to read. So for little kids, not so much,
Right.
but right about
Teenagers and-
teenagers and on. Yeah, definitely.
What was the inspiration for the original concept? I mean, do you talk about that or?
Yeah, it was. I began to think about my interest in mythology and history, and that sensibility was really inspiring to me. Just gods and goddesses and
Right.
religion
Mystical.
and mystical.
It's right up my boys'
Yeah,
alley.
yeah.
I have 13 and 15-year-old teenage boys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's right up their alley.
Yeah.
They're totally into all that.
Well, I'd love to get them copies
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll buy them.
and autograph
So you can make
too.
some money.
Yeah, autograph would be great.
And so, all of that was formulating. So I was a writer. And it's funny because when I was sent to military school for reasons I still
Sentenced.
can't fathom,
Now, what did you-
sentenced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Do you send as in high school or right after high school?
It was high school.
So
It
you were
was
naughty.
And it was
You were naughty.
Yeah, and it was a Southern Baptist military
Where-
school.
Where
God.
I'm from the South. Where were you?
Outside of Charlottesville, it's a place called Fork Union Military Academy.
I always hear horror stories that
we
kids
called
get
it
worse.
something else.
Say
Yeah,
it.
I bet. No,
I've heard,
I bet.
I've heard of it. No, I'm from Georgia, but I've heard.
Are they
I've
just
heard of it.
they just can get away with being so mean to you guys there?
Well, particularly in those days, and
Yeah.
this was the problem because it was not an ROTC school. So that meant because ROTC is the sort of
at least connected to the school.
in the high school.
Yeah.
is a pre-regulation
Right.
of very strict military codes, but this one wasn't. And I mean, we had guys who were just wearing uniforms who were not even military
Qualified.
people.
Oh, jeez.
And so it was really, really ugly. And I remember my dear friend was a guy named Jack, and he was Jewish. And we were walking across campus one time, and one of the assistant commandants quote unquote,
Quote.
walked up to us, and we saluted him, and he looked at my friend and said, Mongilardi, I'm going to return your salute, but I'm not going to return your salute because you're a Jew, to my friend. And, your blood just runs cold, and you're 16 years old, and I thought, God, get me out of here. How did this happen?
That's how we
to me?
pronounced your name?
Yeah. And I was always giving him smart-ass responses, because I just hated them, and I hated everything they were doing.
Did they send your brother there, too?
No, my brother.
He was the good brother?
I didn't know I didn't know my brother until 1976 because he didn't grow up with us.
Oh.
This is part of the MIA story.
Okay.
And but
you survived. How long were you?
How long were you there before?
Well, no, better yet, how did you
How'd you get kicked out?
What did you
how
do?
I got kicked out? I realized I tried to do everything I could. I sabotaged a varsity basketball game. That didn't work because then I knew my friends were going to get in trouble. We were all smoking pot because it was 1976 and we were in a boys' school, and what the hell else we were going to do?
Totally.
So we had this system of pulleys in the radiators, and we'd put the pot in the socks and drop them down and run them all over.
Who would get you the pot?
Oh, friends would bring it from off campus.
Okay.
They'd come for the
From their parents,
dances,
yeah.
and they'd come to visit us, and everything. And I had these great guys who were friends of mine. They were so cool. And one of the horrible things about it was when I first went there, and I was just in shock, and I went in to the bathroom, and the shower room was on this side, and the toilet room was on this side, and it was a row full of toilets with no privacy walls.
Ugh.
That's like prison.
Nothing like that. It was like, and I thought, why?
You thought,
Yeah.
I won't be going.
So what I did was I ordered a catalog from Saks Fifth a caftan from Saks Fifth Avenue, and I sat on the toilet and tended myself with this caftan. I thought,
How did you order
hell
a
with you.
caftan while you're in military school?
Oh, you could do that. Yeah.
That's something Ralph would have
That
done.
is just hilarious.
I could order
And they kicked you
cigarettes
out?
from my home. Finally, no. And what they did was I couldn't get them to get rid of me. So I started reading Gandhi. And I realized that, it wasn't my alternative sexuality that was going to do it. It wasn't sabotaging the varsity basketball game that was going to do it. So, and it was kind of scary too, because, when
'cause they
people
could beat the
say
crap out of
things
you.
like that, and they did.
Oh, I'm sure.
They shoved me against the wall and everything. And
I'm sure.
And I told them, I said, do it again, and I'm going to hit you back, and then I'm going to call the federal authorities. And they were
Right.
like, what are you talking
Federal
about, son?
authorities,
You're a hippie. And I'm like, yeah. And guess what? My dad died for this country, and I have the right to be a hippie, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And they hated me, So they just, they wanted to get rid of me, and I wanted to go. So it was a stalemate. So I finally realized, then I started doing like fashion things that you would see in the 90s.
You're like Jamie Farr
in
on
the
MASH.
70s, right?
Anything
So-
to get out.
But what I would do is we had dress uniforms and we had fatigue uniforms and stuff, and we had the rifles, these old Spanish Mauser rifles with the firing pins out of them.
How
so you
butch.
do the fire, which I could never do. I'd drop the rifle, and my rifle was always filthy.
Right.
Did your mom know that you shouldn't be there? Like that wasn't a good, or would she just?
She thought it was going to be a really good thing for me,
Okay.
It's kind of Gomer Pyle-ish.
and she thought it would keep me away from the emerging drug culture of the 70s.
Okay.
I want you to know that that's the first place I smoked a joint.
I was going to say.
The guy who gave it to me, his name was America, and he was a master sergeant,
Wow.
and he was a good friend. So I thought, this is just too weird,
Did your friend Jack get out?
He stayed. He graduated.
Okay.
He stuck it through. He was a pretty tough cookie, but he had a lot of pressure from home. But what I started to do was mismatch uniforms. Like I'd wear the Eisenhower jacket with a T-shirt. I'd wear the fatigue pants with slippers for the shower, and they would stick me, which is what they call giving you the demerits. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to march these demerit tours off. I'm not going to do it. And finally, the really calm thing comes over you, as Gandhi talks about, nonviolent, passive resistance. I just stopped participating. I didn't go to class. I ate only what would sustain me. I didn't march off meal. I just sat there. And they finally, what
They
are you
had
gonna,
no choice.
What are you going to do?
And
with
you
it?
finish out at your local high school?
No, I went to a boarding school in New York City called the Rhodes School.
A good one.
Was that better?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Okay.
It was art and music and humanity
Right.
and culture, and I was like, thank you.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Wow. So
Everybody has a
see?
story.
Yeah, that's quite a journey. That really prepared you for show business. the ups and downs and craziness. We were talking earlier about how long it takes projects to come together.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask producers all the time, what do producers do? And so we always laugh about, well, it just, there is no, oh. I've been pulled to the floor. Wow. I feel like I'm on the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
I don't want to
could
lose
be
this
fun.
card.
You pull my weave. Hold on.
you should just go with it. It could be fun.
I don't want to lose this card.
Oh, that's
I have
hilarious.
to look up all his stuff.
So, no. Can we mentioned briefly about you have some good people attached to your project that we don't want to, jinx it, but we want to share the good news.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, MIA is, is, like I said, when we were finally able to give the services to my dad, it was such a cathartic thing after 41 years, and I wanted to do a documentary about it. Sharon Stone is a very good friend of mine and a person I admire and love very, very deeply.
Wonderful
not only
woman.
for her incredible work as an actor, but also as a humanitarian.
Absolutely.
And AMFAR
and
just knocks it out of the park,
Yeah.
every time. And I said to her, I'd like to do this as a documentary. And she said, I really think it's a story. I think you should write the story as a film. I mean, you can do a documentary anytime,
Right.
but this is a very, very important story for mothers and wives and people, because we have Full Metal Jacket, we have Apocalypse Now, we have other stories that's told from the warrior and soldier side of the story and men and women in service, which is very, very important, and I support that completely. But how much about the wives and children and mothers and what they go
behind
through
the
and what
scene,
they
right.
do.
The ones left behind.
So that's how it came about. And
Were there other people like yourselves that couldn't identify their loved one for that many decades?
It is.
Is that going to be in the
very, very big issue? Very big issue.
Is it an issue that goes on now?
Yes.
There's still many
thousands and thousands of cases.
unidentified remains.
Thousands of cases.
It's so parallel now to the Malaysian flight, and now that they're saying that it was shot down, it's similar to what your father endured.
Well, just look at the wars we've had since Vietnam.
And World War I.
Yeah, exactly.
These missing in action, missing cases, and that's why we have the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Right.
Right.
But also all of these parents and families and people, and there's a tour that goes around every year by the Department of Defense, which is a POW MIA tour that goes around just addressing the needs of these families. And I went to one of them a year ago as a guest, and it broke my heart to stand up there. And there's a room full of 400 people who want to know where their brothers, wives, fathers, mothers, sisters are, and some have been waiting longer than me. And so I had to find somewhere in myself something to say, at least someone's here to tell you it's happening.
It can happen.
And it really is. And you manifest it, and we'll get there. Give the forensic teams time to do it, and you're going to have...
Why such the holdup?
Is it an economic thing? Did you have to pay for it? No.
Why is there a holdup? Just they don't...
It's...
follow through? I understand.
No, there's a lot of follow through.
Okay.
So the government's doing a good job.
They're doing everything they can, but also, some people, war, the violence of some of these deaths is so total and so catastrophic that a lot of people don't have a lot of DNA to work from.
Okay.
So where are these people? And where, if they go off the grid, people think of war as a sort of as you go here and you do this and there's that and there's this engagement. It's really an extraordinarily chaotic in the second kind of thing going on. And so people get lost, things happen, equipment goes away and things like that. So they're doing the best that they can. The heroes of this is what's called the Joint Accounting Command in Hawaii, which is the really important forensic laboratory that's doing all of this work. And sometimes they're featured on CSI and stories like that.
And forgive me if you said earlier, do you know how many remains have been identified of the families? Like how many families like yourself have?
I don't have those numbers offhand.
But it's still a lower number. Compared to how many are still missing?
Yeah, there's more missing than not, and it's going to take a long time.
Wow, that's what makes this project so much more powerful.
Yeah.
It's
and
it's relevant. Very
so this
relevant.
is a movie you're working on, MIA.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
You have a studio behind you?
we have a great director.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so now we're going to go forward to, when everybody comes back from their various nirvanas for the summer,
Yes.
we're going to find out where we're going to go with that.
Interesting.
That's
and I'm
exciting.
trying to get also, if I can talk about my documentaries
Oh,
just really
absolutely.
quickly.
Yes.
I did 2 documentaries, The Changing Face of Autism, because my neighbor has a son, and so that was
And I
how
know
I became
so many people are touched by it. I mean,
introduced to that, and that was 5 years of a really difficult process to do it, and we're very proud of that film. And then I did a film completely opposite called The Walt Disney Concert Hall Organ, which is about the big pipe organ.
The
in-
pipe organ.
yes,
Frank
the
Gehry
famous organ.
And I'm kind of a organ nut and classical music kind of kook. So I was trying to, when I mentioned Radio City years ago,
Oh, right.
it's like when they were going to close it. At one point, I don't know if any of you remember, but they were going to close Radio City and
Yes.
turn it into tennis courts.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And my aunt and Jackie Kennedy, my godmother and Jackie Kennedy, and a lot of other people in New York said, no way.
Right.
So we actually did a sit-in, and at the time it was
I remember that.
Governor Carey. Do
There
you remember
was
that?
news coverage of that. Yeah.
And we sat around and made a human wall around in Channel 2 and Channel 4, and everybody came to, these people are, going to say. And so Governor Carey, and one of the few great things that he did that I at least remember was he
Right.
signed it into a landmark. But what we had done at the time also was we had made plans, if they were going to gut the theater, was we were going to go in and take the Wurlitzer, the theater organ, out and put it into a warehouse out in Long Island, because it's the most famous theater organ in the world, and we didn't want it to be gutted and torn
What
out.
is wrong with people that they want to get
Just
rid of
amazing.
historic?
Well, they do that in L.A. They tear down
Yeah.
historical buildings, especially in L.A. They're really bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are your 2 documentaries. And again, all this can be found on your your combined website now.
Yes.
Yeah, where everything's your.
And we're
sizzle-
hoping to get we're seriously looking at getting the Walt Disney Concert Hall organ documentary on PBS.
Oh, that would be
Oh,
great.
that would be
So
nice.
this is the 10th anniversary of the concert hall.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
Already,
Right.
it just
How
seems
did
like
that
they just
happen?
built it.
I know.
Right? That's
Yeah.
a beautiful
I know.
building, also.
It is.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Well, Raoul, thank you so much.
Thank
the time
you.
flies.
Very
I don't know
interesting.
where
Yeah.
it
Thank
you
goes.
so
Come
much,
back.
Dara.
Please come back. And
Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah,
when
you're very
your other
welcome.
projects are happening, and
Love to.
that would be great.
Yeah.
So thank you
Love to
again
do
so
that.
much. Ralph, thank you for
Thank you, Jasper.
coming. Great to see you.
I know. It's fun to be back. We've been off for a while.
When are we going to
so
be
it was
on
fun
next
to be
in
together again.
August?
So
August 3rd.
We'll be here August 3rd,
Okay.
first Sunday in
Alrighty.
August. Dara, great to see you.
Thank you.
JW, thank you so much.
Thank you for everything.
A big thanks to Howard Kasner, and check out him
and
on,
Zach Gruber.
Well,
for-
yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Without Zach, we wouldn't have any guests today.
Absolutely.
Right? And we will see you August 3rd. And
Okay.
we'll,
My birthday.
Is that
4
your
days-
birthday?
No, well,
A few days before,
the
but
Oh, okay.
July
I'll want
31st.
gifts and celebrations, please.
Okay.
And don't forget, because you forgot Mother's Day. And I did
Okay.
hint on Mother's Day.
Okay.
Wow.
Because
Were
we remember
weren't
your birthday all the time.
we weren't here on Mother's Day this year.
We were in the vicinity.
Okay.
yeah, it was
And
close
I already
enough.
warned you through email, and nobody did nothing.
Thing, okay.
Well, we don't-
Okay.
But we don't think of you as a mother because you're so young and beautiful, and you you couldn't have
I'm
possibly.
old
Very
and
smooth.
tired.
You couldn't
Yeah.
have
He's-
teenage
he just-
sons.
Right.
There's no way.
Okay.
They were adopted.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you again for tuning in. We will see you August 3rd.
Yes.
And you've been listening to and watching On the Set with Jasper Cole. We'll be right back on August
Thank
3rd.
Bye-bye,
you.
Planet Earth.
Don't miss a minute of On the Set with Jasper Cole, and get the inside scoop on everything going on behind the scenes in Hollywood.